Well, hello there again, everybody, and welcome. This is part 17 of our Polar Lights Enterprise refit buildup. And I've been working pretty heavy on the saucer wiring. What I've got in here now is I've got my two Tenant Controls boards. Both of these are the dimmer boards for the deflector dish. And if you guys remember, I showed you earlier that little fader effect that I've got worked out. Well, I'm running the impulse engines, the crystal, the thruster banks, with that board here, and this board here I'm using just to run the deflector dish. The reason I'm running two of these is when I tied everything into that board, the deflector dish itself wasn't bright enough. It put too much of a load on it and brought it down too dim. So I decided to piggyback another board on here and use that just alone for the deflector. I've got it wired so that they're both on the same push button switch and they'll both work at the same time. Here I've got my Tenant Controls navigation and strobe light board wired in here. I've got a strobe light at the top of the bridge, and I've got the other navigation lights on the top of the saucer all wired in. I'll go ahead and plug this in for you. Basically, when I turn the power onto the model, the lighting of the model will come on and the flasher circuit will come on. And you can see we've got them all working there. I'll turn this over here for you in a second. So everything's great, and now what I've got to do is I've got to put the ones in the bottom of the saucer, so that's going to be easy to do. Right now I'm going to start, up next I'm going to start actually painting the bottom of the saucer, our Aztec patterns, using the new painting masks that I'm working with. Let me turn this over for you quick so you can see everything's working on the top, and maybe kill this overhead light for you. As you can see, we've got all of these wires here are going to be going out through the bottom of the model, so don't mind those, but we've got our light here at the front, we've got our nav light on the top of the bridge, we've got these two at the rear, and the red and the green over here. So I'm really happy with that. You can see we've got our bridge on there. I've got to do a little bit of touch-up painting on that. But and the crystal will light up, of course, and everything when I do all my extra work to that. And our thrusters here will light up as well. So this is pretty well nailed down now. All I've got to do is come back and do that little painting of the different colors, the red and the green, and some overlapping colors on these Aztecs, and then this top saucer will be done. I guess we've got to paint in a couple little details here, the phaser banks and these little thruster ports, but for the most part it's done. So what I'm going to do next now is get out the bottom of the saucer. We're going to start putting some masks down on that, and I'll show you guys how that works. And we'll be right back with that, so stay tuned. Okay guys, I'm back with you now, and I'm set up to start doing these Aztec masks, and I'm going to show you how it's working. You can see that I've been working my way around the saucer here a little bit, and let me explain to you what's happening here. Let me get over onto the this area over here on my ceramic towel. I'm going to tighten up on it for you a little bit. Now you can see that, let me show you how this starts here first. Your basic sheet looks something like this, where you've got all the Aztecs still on there. So what you do is, before you do anything, I cut this pie wedge out, and then I go in here with my hobby knife and I start taking these little sections off that I want to be painted, and leave the rest of the mask on there. And then you have this tape. You're provided with a couple of sheets of this clear tape that you work with, and you basically put this over top of that and use this little tool and lay it down on there. Now you're saying this is really rough looking and nasty. Well, I found out that this stuff is really sticky, and the problem I was having when I first started working with it was that it kept wanting to pull the masks off when I tried to pull this off. And so I stuck it down on my shirt here a couple of times to get rid of some of the tackiness, and then I'm using it over and over and over here, and it's slowly getting less and less tacky, and it's working better every time. So basically what you do is you lay this down over top of this. Make sure you cover the entire thing. And you just take this little tool here and you start just smoothing over it, making sure you're getting the whole thing covered. I'm using this ceramic towel because it's a nice hard surface and it's nice and flat. You put this on here like this and keep doing that until you see pretty much all the little air bubbles disappear in there. And so now you've got it stuck onto that, and you've got your backing paper here that's on the masks themselves. So you start, and then very gently, I'm going to work here at the bottom here first, and you very gently just start pulling this off. And I'm maybe getting to the point now where this is getting to where it's not going to grab masks anymore. I've used it several times, and it's kind of looking that way. Okay, well here we go. It's starting to grab them. And it's kind of a balance here on when these guys make these, as far as you can either put the masks themselves a little stickier, which then you could have problems with the paint, or you could make this stuff less sticky and it won't grab it enough. But until I patted them down, like I mentioned, they were just it was entirely too sticky. I couldn't get any of the masks to stick on the model. I was having a real hard time. So I'm just kind of, every time I see one lift up here, I'm just kind of going and re-rubbing it here to make it grab a hold of it. You just kind of have to work it a couple times. And there we go, it's grabbing them for the most part here. This one little spot here just doesn't want to stick. But this is actually going to be good because this is going to help them come off a lot easier too when we do the transfer. Okay, so now we've got them all on the back of the paper here. And let me shift you over to the saucer and back up just a little bit. I'm going to be putting on this roll right here. And basically, you just lay this down on here and line up your edges, making sure you're even at the bottom and the top. And you start pushing it down until you get just where you want to be. And we're actually over just a little too far. And you don't want to stick this down hard yet until you're really sure of where your marks are and you're lined up the way you want. Okay, and I like that. That's pretty good. Now you're just going to take this same tool again and go over these. Like I said, this is a really slick system, and I'm able to do these 10 times faster than I was with that Aztec dummy set, and I don't have to worry. These lift off of the paint really nicely. They're the correct material for this, so this is the way I'll be going in the future. I don't know about you guys, but I've just looked all over the net, and I've seen so many horror stories about paint jobs getting ruined by those Aztec dummies. And until that guy goes back and uses some better quality vinyl, I'm going to stay away from them. So, okay, you're basically going and you're rubbing these down until you get rid of the air bubbles again. Just making sure they're all nice and flat on there. Okay, and then starting at the bottom here, I'm just going to start lifting. And what you do is you keep rolling this paper, and you just keep it nice and flat. Don't peel it up like this, but keep it, you know, a little bit of pressure on it, and just start rolling it back. That's what he recommends in the directions. Just start rolling it back, and look for any areas that start to lift on the masks. If they look good, just keep going. If you get one that starts to lift, just kind of roll back over it a few times, see if you can get it to stick, and then keep going. And now that our paper's getting weaker here, these are sticking a lot better. I was having a trouble. I could only go an inch or two and they'd all start lifting, and I had to work them all back down one at a time. It was really a pain, but I figured out using this same piece of paper, because it gives you enough of this tape here to do all the individual sections with a new piece every time. And I just figured out that if you keep using the same piece over and over, it starts to get less and less tacky. And here's one of the old masks on there we got to pull off. Okay. And so I'm just going to stick this back on my ceramic tile over here. You might be able to get one or two more runs out of it. Now you don't want to scrape these. You see we got a couple air bubbles. You don't want to scrape over your paint with this, so just take your fingers here and just go over them and lightly. You don't have to worry about sticking these down. If you were to do this with these Aztec dummy masks, you'll never get them back off without ripping paint back up. So with this, you can stick them down on there pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to mask off our surrounding area so we can paint this. Some of these areas here, you can see where I've left the mask on there. I'm going to be coming back and respraying that in some gold. So we're mixing in some of these colors, but right now I'm spraying the blue, pearl, and that's pretty much the main color on this. You just do some random panels here and there in gold to kind of break it up. And we've got that side down. Come back and do this one. Okay. Mask off the top area here. You just come right up to that top edge. Everything lines up in a nice circle around here. When you put the planetary sensor on, that's going to look really good. It'll come right up against all those little panels there and line itself up really nice. And I'm just masking off the bottom lip here. You can't make a really good curve with this thick tape, so what I do is I just keep overlapping it and making my radius on this edge of the saucer just kind of gradual and get it masked off just right. I'm going to put one up here so we don't overspray that area. And we've got one more right here we need to put down. Okay, if you can see that, we've got our nice radius there and we're ready to go. I've got my blue pearl loaded up in my airbrush here. And you don't want to put this stuff on very heavy, this pearlescent paint. What I'm doing is, in order to tell how much I'm putting on, since it goes on the surface kind of transparent, I'm looking at the masks themselves. So when I can start seeing blue building up on the mask, I know I'm getting it on there even. So I'm just going to start working my way across the bottom here and just go all the way up. And that's it, folks. Maybe one more pass here across the bottom. This does not need to be plastered on there really thick. Okay? This is a transparent paint. It's supposed to be covered really, really lightly. Okay, so we've got that all laid down on there. I'm just giving it a quick dry with my heat gun here. I don't want to get this too close and maybe heat up those masks. So I'm just going over it and moving it as I go here. Doesn't look like much right now, but when you pull the mask, it really jumps to life. Okay, now we can pull our tape. Now I left a couple of masks here, so I want to be careful not to rip those back off, because that's a spot where we're going to come back and do some gold when I switch colors. And that's right underneath of this one, so I'm just going to be really careful when I get to that spot and lift it up really slowly. We've got one here just down here as well, so it's trying to stick. Let me see if I can work it. If you get an edge that won't come up, go up to the opposite end and try to get it from that way and start pulling your tape, and usually you can get it. Okay, that one up there stuck pretty good. So we're coming down here. Yeah, she's sticking on there pretty darn good. Sometimes you need to be really careful. I stuck this on there and wasn't paying attention, and I should have just barely patted it down when I did that, and I stuck it too hard and was trying to pull the mask up with it. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about that. The top side of this is already done, so I've got extra masks for that, so I'll just come back and stick those on individually. But if you're doing this yourself, you know, like I said, pay attention, or you could actually do the same trick I'm doing with that, with your masking tape that I'm doing with this backing tape here, and maybe pat it down on your shirt or something like that and get rid of a little bit of the tackiness to it before you stick it down. But like I said, I've already got the top half of the saucer done with that other Aztec dummy set, so I'm not going to worry about. I'll have extra masks that I can put on there from this set. Okay, and then we're going to keep on going here. You see how easy I'm pulling these off just with my fingernail? They lift off right away. They're not even given a hint of ripping up any paint with it. This is the proper kind of material. This is what should have been used on the Aztec dummy set. Just working my way around here. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes on the video. When I get to the point, when I get back to work here off camera, I'm going to put down several sections at a time and spray a lot more of it, but I just wanted to show you guys this individual panel work here so you can see. And there we go. There's our beautiful Aztec pearl colors on there. You come back and you put a couple of different shades mixed in with, like I said, gold, and then we come back at the very end and we put little spots of green and red and stuff and overlap some of it, and that's when it really, really starts looking nice. So that's how the Aztec masking sheet works, guys. The new one from Orbital Drydock. User on eBay. I'm really pleased with it. Like I said, it maybe could stand to be tweaked just a little bit more. but the way I've worked it out here, it's working pretty good. But if his tape was just a little less sticky, it wouldn't be quite as much of a problem getting those off of the masks. So that's gonna do it for this little part, guys. I'm gonna keep working on this a little bit more, and then I'll come back and show you the completed saucer here in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Okay guys, well here's the final installment of tonight's video, and you can see that, boy oh boy, we got the lower saucer all painted, and I'm telling you guys, this is a really big step, because this is going to allow me to now get this thing ready to be mounted onto the top of the neck, and that's basically the anchor for all of my electronics and all my other things that I'm doing. I can get this all tied together now, and look at how these beautiful colors just pop on this. You can see the golds coming through that I painted in various spots, and the different areas, and the paneling looks really nice and even on it. I really like the detail that they have on the up here around where the sensor, the lower sensor dome is going to go, and that's going to tie in really nice with that. So again, now all I've got to do is come back and paint some of these tertiary colors of the red and the green areas just here and there at random, and that's going to make that look really nice. Then I've got to paint on these details here for the thruster banks, the phaser banks, put some more decals on it, and then we'll clear coat this whole thing. And the clear coating actually helps tone this whole thing down just a little bit too, where you don't notice these off colors as much. You can see the difference between how they don't show up as much on this one to the top where it has been clear coated. So that really makes that look better, and so I'm really happy. Over here you can see on the top saucer now a little bit of work I did off camera here. I've got the bridge is now permanently mounted on the top. I installed my little fabricated, I just used some clear plastic and fabricated the windows and diffused them a little bit so they're not glaring. You can see it looks really nice. Our strobe lights working really good there. We've got the navigation lights. I used some 1.8 millimeter bulbs for those, so they're nice and small and in scale, and they'll look really nice once this model. I'll give you a shot of this in the dark probably on the next video, and you'll see that our really nice floodlight is working really good. And here at the back, you can see in this shot here that I've got the officer's lounge in there now, and my little space lights that I made out of fiber optic are just really looking rad in there. I really like how they look. They look just like some futuristic see-through lamps, just like I was planning, and the ambient lighting I'm getting in the background in the lounge is just right. It's not glaring. I can look in there and it looks like natural room lighting. It's nice, and my glass that I put in there is crystal clear. If it wasn't glaring a little bit, you wouldn't even be able to tell it's in there. And I've got to do a little bit of light blocking here. If you notice, the strobe light is coming through a little bit into, bleeding a little bit into my my docking port, which I left sort of transparent so it'll light in the dark, and I'll fix that. But other than that, I'm really happy with this whole thing here. It's really coming together. Same thing on the top. We've got to do our little detail painting. Lots of decals to go on this, the little squares that go on these little panels here, the little circles. We got to paint on the phaser banks and the thruster banks, and all those little things is what really brings this model together, and that's all going to make it look a lot more accurate to the screen model and all that. It still kind of looks kind of naked right now, but I'm just really pleased with it. All of our wiring is all nice and neat underneath here, no shorts. You can see the way I do my wiring. When I put it in, I tack everything down as I go. I don't like to fight with loose wires and things like that. And this magnet wire is just the cat's pajamas. I'm glad to see that I've been following my buddy Steve Neal over there. I'm watching him build his Reliant. He's had to put so many lights in that model. I remember building mine, and it's a lot of light to cram in that, and he's having it even worse with having that shuttle bay in there. And I'm glad to see that maybe he's considering trying some of this magnet wire. Steve, if you see the video, this is basically what you should be getting. Somebody sent you some wire, but it doesn't look correct. This is small, like 30 gauge. And what's really nice about this is that you don't have to strip this stuff. You just basically, if you want to solder, you just wrap it around these, like I did here. You just wrap it around these leads on this LED, heat it with some solder, it burns right through the insulation, and you're done. And so you can go through and wire your stuff up really fast. And again, it's such a huge space saver. They talk about it being springy or whatever. It's really not. maybe some of the cheaper stuff that's out there that is, but this is just really good stuff. And I'm glad to see that you might be trying it out. This is the hole that I punched in the neck for passing my wire through it. And like I said, this is going to be my anchor. My photon launcher board is going to get mounted in here. And we're going to lay in our lights on the bottom here for the, I've got to put more lights in for the nav lights and the strobe light here at the bottom. And then once we get that laid in, we can close that. And once I close that saucer lid, we're really cooking with gas. Then we'll be homing in on the final stretch here, like I said. So I'm hoping that I've got tomorrow off, and I should be able to get that when I come back tomorrow. I'm hopefully be able to show you the saucer mounted on the neck. And that's a big step. And once I get that done, we're only looking at the nacelles and a little bit of Aztec painting on those and on the neck and on the photon launcher bay. And after that, just the decals. So we're getting really close. And John from Sci-Fi Model Action, Skip's dad, if you're watching, I'll be getting started on your Polar Lights 1350 Classic Enterprise probably in about a week or two. I'm hoping by next weekend this model here will be wrapped. And you're my first commission build. I really appreciate the opportunity to do the build for you, and I'm excited. I've got a lot of other people inquiring and a couple others lined up after that. So I'm excited to embark on a sort of a semi-new career here building models for other people. And I'm glad that you guys are giving me the opportunity to do that, and I'll do the best job I possibly can for you. And I'm pretty sure you'll be happy with the results. So I strive really hard to do the best I can on every build. So anyways, that's going to be a wrap, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as they say, peace out. We'll catch you on the next video. Have a good evening or morning, whatever it is. And we'll see you in a few more hours with another update on this. Take care and happy modeling.